The General Insurance presents Shower Ballads by Shaq.
And I'm gonna keep on loving you, 'cause it's the only thing I wanna do.
Turns out, everyone does sound better in the shower. And it turns out, The General is a quality insurance company that's been saving people money for nearly 60 years.
I just wanna keep on loving you.
For a great low rate and nearly 60 years of quality coverage, make the right call and go with the General.
The General Auto Insurance Services, Inc., an insurance agency, Nashville, Tennessee. Some restrictions apply.
Welcome to the Fandom Show. This is the show where we talk to our favorites about their favorites. I am one of your hosts, Stephanie Malik.
And I am Kaya Green. Welcome to the Fandom Show!
We're so excited to have you here. We're so excited for today's episode.
Hell yeah.
So today's episode is about literally the greatest story of all time.
Maybe the greatest story
greatest
of all?
series. You can have opinions about it. It doesn't matter. I think it's the greatest series of all time.
Your opinions matter, but also it's the greatest series of all time.
Originally written by J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings is the story of Frodo, a young hobbit tasked with destroying an all-powerful ring before its evil master claims it. The books have been a global phenomenon, having been published in at least 38 languages, as well as being turned into cartoons, comics, board games, and of course, 3 Oscar-winning films. Whether it's watching the trilogies annually, especially around the holidays, or doing a regular reread of the books, people cannot get enough of the adventures of Middle-earth.
And one of those people I'm very excited to announce is Molly Ostertag, an award-winning graphic novelist, 30 under 30 Forbes scholar, very cool and fancy, and a writer for children's TV animation. I can't speak. Children's TV animation. There we go. She's worked as a designer on the show Star versus the Forces of Evil and a writer for Thundercats Roar and The Owl House, which is awesome and you should check it out. Her middle grade graphic novel debut, The Witch Boy, came out in 2017 from Scholastic and is being adapted into a feature film for Netflix, which is also awesome. It's followed by the sequel, The Hidden Witch in 2018 and New York Times bestseller, The Midwinter Witch in 2019. That is that thing back there. Her latest book, The Girl from the Sea, debuted at #1 on the YA bestseller list on June 1st, 2021. Please welcome the absolutely incredible Molly Ostertag.
Yay! Hi!
Oh
my God. Hello. I'm like flustered right now.
Well, I mean, all of those are just facts.
Those are facts about you.
I know.
That's pretty cool.
Terrifying. But truly, we are here for the only important thing, which is about hobbits and how much I love them.
You know what? The most important thing, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah. Legitimately, like, this is not a brag. You already talked about the Forbes thing. They emailed me to interview me before to decide if they were going to give me a Forbes 30 under 30. I don't even really know what it is, but I was so deep in the fandom. It was last year and I was so deep in it. And I was like, well, I write a lot of Hobbit fan fiction. I don't know what you're talking to me for. And then they were like, your books? It's fine.
The thing that I do, right?
So I got that award probably for my Hobbit fan fiction is what I'm saying.
Honestly, I feel like they should be giving out that award for Hobbit fan fiction.
Truly, I've read it. It's great.
It's very good.
It's so good. Oh, gives so many feelings.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You've written enough that you've bound it in a book? Is that correct?
Yeah. Extremely. Listen, I think over the last year, I've had this belief that we should lean into the slightly cringy things that we love and just embrace them. And there's no such thing as cringe. And so I am wrote a beautiful story and then illustrated it and then bound it. I wish, actually, it's in my living room. I wish I had it, but it's very pretty.
Well, go onto Molly's Instagram. We'll give it at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I think
there's pictures on there, I think.
Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah.
And this is the show for cringe and loving your cringe and leaning right into your cringe.
Yeah.
So
it's just I'm almost 30 and it's there's nothing, there's no reason not to pretend that I love this stuff so deeply. So
absolutely
100%.
not.
Is there anything better about getting older than just a lack of shame?
Oh my God. It's really cool. I feel like I've just had it in the last year or two where I'm just I don't care. I care about a lot of things, but people's opinions of me caring about them is not one of them. And that's pretty cool. I wish I could have given that to myself when I was 15.
Yeah. If you're watching this and you're 15, if anybody cares about whether you love hobbits, please ignore them. They don't know what they're talking about.
But also, like, I think you just have to go through those feelings. Like, it just takes some time to get to the point where you're like, I'm old now. Like, I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
And
we approve.
Anyone who's not going to be like, love the thing that you love and going to look down on you for that is not necessarily a person whose opinion should, in the long run, actually matter to you.
Yeah. But,
Absolutely.
There's so much to talk about. So we're just going to jump right into our first segment called
Tell Us Everything. All right. So we're just going to jump right in. First question. How did you first get into Lord of the Rings?
And that was, I love that bumper. There's so many different people and characters. I was like trying to spot them all. Yeah, my dad, who has always been like really supportive of me being a huge nerd, read me the books when I was really little. I know it was like around when I was learning to read so I was probably like 5 or 6, because I remember like looking over his shoulder and like figuring out how paragraphs worked and like kind of learning to read by watching him read Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So they go very, very deep for me, where I just like, that's the magical thing about those books, that they kind of feel, you're like, is this real? Is this like, I don't know, is this a history maybe, or a mythology? I'm not totally sure what it is. And so I just like grew up feeling like it was incredibly real. And then the movies came out when I think I was 11, and they just like hit me like a ton of bricks. All of these like childhood memories of getting these stories really took me over. I was like going through a hard time in school and like socially and everything. And I just like fully dove into the world of Middle Earth for a while. I was definitely the kid who was like writing in Elvish on the side of my like homework and stuff. And my teachers were like, what is this?
Very respectable.
Yeah, I know. I agree. So yeah, that was like, I think I've had like eras of Lord of the Rings in my life. So that was like one era. And then I was kind of like, that was a little embarrassing. And like, then the Hobbit movies came out and I was like, oh, these are really embarrassing. Like maybe like, and not to like, I think I can appreciate them now. But at the time I was like, they do not measure up to the original trilogy, which is what I really wanted. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's all embarrassing. And then in the last couple of years, I've just been like letting myself go back to it. As I said, like not being afraid of being cringe. And it's been so wonderful. And then I think last year in particular, we rewatched it all in one day with a friend, and just all the feelings, all the pandemic feelings, all the like California wildfire feelings, like all the fear at the world, and being with like the person that I had just married, and being like, we were stuck in our house together, trying to care for each other while the world is like literally on fire outside our door. And it just felt incredibly relevant and incredibly comforting and inspiring. And so that's kind of been like approaching it as an adult. And as an adult who like understands stories, and also as a queer adult, there's just so much that I'm finding in it that I hadn't found before. And so that's really exciting to just like have a story that you can like keep coming back to.
Oh, that's so nice. I feel like I really like relate to the idea of eras, because like my grandfather was very into Lord of the Rings. In fact, this book back here, it used to be his. I inherited it from him.
Is that the big red one? It's leather. I have that one too. Oh man,
really?
That's great. Yeah.
I love it. It's just like sometimes I've never actually like sat down and read through it, because I've read it so many times with different books, but like sometimes I just take it out to touch it.
Mine is like full of like underlines and post-it notes where I'm like, this is gay. Like, that's all.
Do you have a gay edition of it where you've noted it up, and just like a regular edition of it?
I just have they're the same thing for me.
Yeah. One and the same, inseparable.
Yeah.
But the idea of eras, I think because because it came out in the 60s, it's related to so many different generations and stuff. And I feel like I can see where eras started for me, like when I read The Hobbit and became obsessed with it. And like when I first saw that one teaser trailer of the whole fellowship walking over the hill in theaters, and I was like, I get that. I feel like I've had that too.
Yeah, just tears. Every time that music swells, I can't handle it.
Yeah, I know. It's like I really don't remember any of my reactions. Even like after seeing the first movie, I don't remember what I did. I just remember that by that time I was fully in it. Like at some point I watched it, and then I probably saw it like 15 more times and was just obsessed.
The first reaction I remember having to the movie is the first time you hear Gollum speak was exactly like, and the visual of him was like, this is exact. You read it from my brain. Like, how did you take exactly how I saw him and put him on screen? That was
it's so good. And it's just, I think like, it's like a true classic that just continues to be reinvented, and it hasn't been through so many different reinventions. Like there's been some films and some, I guess just films. There's going to be a TV show soon, but it's more just like reading it in different times. You find meaning, and there was something really comforting during like, I think the hardest parts of last year to read it and to read about this man, J.R.R. Tolkien, who loved inventing language and had this whole world in his head, and had also had this incredibly tragic, like was an orphan, had lost all of his friends in the Great War, had definitely had PTSD, and like there was nothing to cope with it. And just like reading all of that into it, and then also being like in this modern day, I am feeling feelings that I can recognize in you too. And that's like, it's just like really good. It's like, it really made me feel like, this is like what art, this is the point of art. This is the point of telling stories.
Oh, that's so nice.
It goes deep for me.
I feel like that's the truest nature of fandom, is liking something so much that you want to zoom out and just see every bit of context for it.
Yeah. You know? And for a long time, I was like, I love it so much that I don't really want to know about J.R.R. Tolkien, especially when I kind of started getting into the queer read of it, and I was like, I bet he would like hate me. And then doing research and being like, oh no, dude had a bunch of gay friends. Like we would totally have hung out, like if I was in Oxford at that time. And kind of just that realization of like being like, everything I learn about this world and the person who made it and the circumstances around making it, I'm like more and more interested, which is really rare. Because a lot of stuff you're like, I like the movie, but I don't want to see, I don't want to see the behind the scenes or anything. Like, I don't want to see how the sausage is made.
Yeah. Amazing. When you, I guess we kind of answer this question. So I'm going to go to our next one. How do you engage with the Lord of the Rings fandom?
Yeah. I think this might be bragging. I may have like started a little like offshoot of the fandom last year, because I kind of was like I was sharing a lot of stuff on my like public professional work Twitter, which is like tied to my books and everything. And I was like, I just need to post about these characters constantly. I'm reading the book. I need to share my reactions. I'm writing a fan fiction. Here's my drawings. Like, I don't have a job right now, so I'm just like drawing hobbits all day, every day. And at a certain point, I was like, I really don't think this is like appropriate for my main Twitter, not for any content reasons, but I was just like, I think people come here to hear what I'm up to professionally. And also like, there's like a lot of political stuff going on, and I don't want to like muddy the waters. So I just made a separate account. It's Hobbit Gay. It's still up, just to like share and talk to people. And it was so fun. I'd never really engaged with fandom online at all. Like I've never been in like any kind of fandom before. I just like haven't really been that kind of person. And so getting to just, I don't know, see like the shit posts and the memes and the edits, like with songs to them, and seeing everyone's fan art, and like getting to talk to people about this stuff and like learn all these tidbits that I never would have known otherwise. It just was like a really, really lovely way. I'm like I think like a introverted extrovert, and I really missed getting to hang out with people last year and like meet new people. I missed going to like book events and comic shows and getting to just chat with people and have a good time. So that was like a really lovely way to just be like this low stakes environment. We are all just here to like, most of us are here to have a good time, and the ones who are not here to have a good time, it's easy to ignore them. So, so I think I feel like I've been trying very hard to just foster a really positive and art driven Tolkien community. And I feel like it's been moderately successful, which has been cool.
Like as someone who started, once you made this alt account, I was just like, yes. Just thank you for all the like wonderful art and creativity that you've poured into this fandom as well. Because so many, like myself as a fan, I'm not a creator in that respect. So I can't give back to the fandom what I've gotten from it. But it's just been such a gift to get to see that the outpouring of your love for it.
I'm so glad. And I love comics so much. And I love just little drawings. I'm not really an illustrator. I don't do like big finished, beautiful pieces, but I love to just do little moments. And so getting to do that with this story that I love, and sort of engaging with the text in that way. And then sometimes changing things, but sometimes just being like, I'm literally just going to draw this really tiny scene that no one remembers, but there's something about it that is just so sweet. And that's been like, it's been really, really cool.
That's just those like little intimate moments, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's so cool, because like Yeah, fandom's so intimate to begin with in so many ways because it's really about your relationship with the story, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting. I think it's scary. I was always a little scared to share how I felt about Lord of the Rings. I think it is funny when you're a creator because people will. It's like how much do you want to link yourself to other things? And like I definitely am linked to Lord of the Rings. I think probably forever at this point, and it comes up in like every single very professional meeting I have now, but that's fine. People are always like, and by the way, no, I don't. I'm good at boundaries. I really try to like be like, this is just for fun, but people are always like, anyway, Lord of the Rings. And they know it will get a reaction. It was just really fun to sort of have this place to be like a little silly and safe in a way that I honestly never have done on the internet before. And I think it's still like a little weird being like an internet figure and then trying to like have this like fun, more anonymous version of it. Like I wasn't comfortable like pretending it wasn't me, but it was just nice to like get to be like a little more low profile and be like, here's some dumb drawings, some very stupid thoughts. And like, let's have a good time and cuddly hobbits.
Sweet little hobbits.
Yeah.
Speaking of the hobbits, do you have like a top 3 characters in the world of Lord of the Rings?
Man,
hard, I know.
Oh man, I mean, it's so hard. I think, book or movie? Because I feel like they're different answers.
I didn't think about
characters
that.
are different in between them. Well, let's start book. If you want to throw in a movie character.
Okay. Well, Sam is like number 1 in both of them, both portrayals. Book Frodo is a fave. He's so sassy. He's such a little bitch. He's just like always has gossip. Like he's so funny. And he's just like, they sort of just did a different thing with him. And they had Elijah Wood as this like beautiful, very young looking like angel boy. And he's perfect in his own way. But I love that Book Frodo is like this 50-year-old, like kind of just a weirdo, like a gay weirdo who's like, I miss my uncle who I lived with. And I don't know, like, I don't know. I don't really want anything, but I just, there's something about him that I love. Gandalf is a fave, I think probably in both of them. And then I think like movie Eowyn is a fave. She's great she's really good in the book too. And she has some beautiful lines, but something about her in the movie, seeing a woman be like really dirty and like in like legit armor and like really just fighting. And like there was something about that was so good for me at a young age. She's just like, I think back all the time on like, you look at any old artist's drawing of the slaying of the Witch King scene where Eowyn like takes off her helmet and they always draw her in sexy armor. And like, not just like sexy armor is fine. It's very fun, but it's like, wouldn't it make sense because she was literally disguised as a man. And so I'm just so glad that the movies did not go that route, and they could have, but they didn't.
One hit to sexy armor, it's going to crush your sternum here.
Yeah, I guess so.
Armor, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good thing to note. Sexy armor is great. Just don't maybe fight in it, you know?
Listen, it's always interesting with fantasy and stuff because it's like, what is the level of realism? And it's like, if you're having titty armor, is not, again, I don't want to say that's bad. It's just like at one end. And then it's like, if you want to be realistic, like we have to like push it in another direction. And Lord of the Rings for me has a really lovely balance of realism and fantasy in the movies specifically.
Yeah, I love Miranda Otto's portrayal of Eowyn because she is such a like stubborn, like tough woman, but also like that fear moment with her and Mary on the horse, where they're just both so scared and they're like, we're here together. It's just like, oh, thank you.
Yes, it's like
beautiful.
One of the people that I've met on Hobbit Twitter, whose handle is Spectraling, really ships like Eowyn and Mary, which is like a genius god tier ship that I never thought about before. And I like every time I watch them now, I'm like, this chemistry. Why did they put these scenes in? Like, what are you doing, Peter Jackson? So I'm just like giving that to everyone. If you need some beautiful art, that's someone to follow.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Like when she's looking for him in the like fields and she's like freaking out because she can't find him. I'm like, this is love. What's happening right now?
I know.
Love. Yeah, don't look at that man from Gondor. Look at the Hobbit.
I feel like he is definitely playing it as being in love with her. There's a scene where he's like, you have many people who love you. Like it's very just like he is talking about himself. Anyway, that's my shipping hot take.
That's so good.
love
I have
them.
to agree with a lot of those favorite characters, though. That like Gandalf, Sam, those are really up there
I'm
for
a
me.
Pippin lady.
I know you love
He's
Pippin.
just so mischievous, a little
Yeah.
troublemaker, and I appreciate that.
He was my big
Um,
crush when I was a kid. I like really, really loved Pippin. He was so cute.
I still have a crush on Billy Boy. That man's
Mhm.
amazing.
Very
Have you
charming.
listened to The Friendship Onion?
Just the first episode. I should listen to more. Sometimes I'm like nervous that like things will get ruined. I'm very careful about like protecting my love of stuff, but
Yeah,
I love that they're doing it.
Just gentle talk, and it feels like listening to two hobbits just talk
That's so
about
nice.
whatever.
Oh my
It's so
God.
chaotic that like the order
Yeah.
that they go in is all over the place. But
Okay,
It's
cool.
like- it is
I'll
like-
listen on my next road trip.
yeah, Merry and Pippin, it feels like you're listening to them. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, they
I mean,
lived
I
in
feel
our
like
world.
it just was their personalities in this.
Yeah.
The whole movie set, like, it seems like they were just doing this very big LARP, which I know there was like so much more complication than that, but everyone was just like so into their characters, and I really love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? Viggo Mortensen walking around with his sword all the time. Like, great. I love it.
Oh,
What a weirdo.
Just like fishing. Yeah,
Buying his horse at the end, you know.
I
Viggo.
know.
Classic Vigo.
Okay, this is another ranking. Rank them in your top order. I'm going to go movies.
Okay, go movies.
Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King. Do you have a preference?
Oh,
We're asking
that's
the really
so
tough questions
hard. I
here.
know. I could have done that with the book easier. I think that Fellowship, I think it goes Fellowship, Return, Towers. Fellowship sets up so much stuff so well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're in the Shire and we're meeting everyone and we're in Rivendell. And it's just like, it is like so full of iconic. I feel like most of the iconic moments are from that. And then
Yeah.
Return of the King is just so dramatic. Like it's just like high Shakespearean drama in this
Yeah.
level that they just like really, I remember that's the only movie I remember waiting for it to come out and just being like, how are they going to finish this? Like, how can they do it? And they just really nailed it. And then
Yeah.
Towers
8
is
times.
good, but Helm's Deep is like a paragraph in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too long.
It's
I
very,
know.
very long.
Too long.
Yeah, there's a lot of Legolas snowboarding down
Look,
things.
nobody needed that. I didn't need
Pretty fun,
Legolas
though.
going down on his shield.
I love that.
I do too. I remember being a 13-year-old being like,
Oh, yeah.
what?
As a kid, like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you did what now?
I want to be that guy. Yeah, it's so hard because there are so many iconic moments, but I would have to agree with that order. It's like Fellowship is just like it's like the first album of a band. It's like all the bangers, you know?
Yeah.
Like all the hits. The Balrog. Come on.
Galadriel's appearance. Beautiful. That's the first one.
Boromir, death scene. Spoiler alert for everyone. So good.
I mean,
Ugh.
If you're watching this and you don't know that, why? Thank you. But why?
I
it
showed
still holds up.
over pandemic, we made some new friends, and one of them had never seen Lord of the Rings before, and so we showed her, which was so exciting. I was like, you need to. She's like a nerd, but like not like a movie nerd in that way. And I was like, you need to have the best experience. So I like made a chart with like a whiteboard with like little printed out pictures of all the characters on it to explain their relationships to each other, and then also like what I thought their relationships were. There was like a canon version and a non-canon version. But then like at the end of Fellowship of the Ring, I walked up and like dramatically ripped off Boromir, and she was like, and Gandalf too, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
yes, he is gone.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like,
yes.
I'm just gonna put this in my pocket.
Don't worry about
Yeah.
why.
yeah.
Just write the white on it.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
this photo
fun.
will not be relevant. However, we'll just like bleach it a little bit.
Yeah.
I know whenever I show people favorite movies of mine, I spend the whole time being like, do you like it? Do you like it? Were you
Yeah.
nervous that she wasn't going to like it?
Yes. I think I'm always nervous that people will just think it's too long and too confusing. And so I was impressed by how succinct your summary was at the beginning. I feel like I try to like give them a good, solid understanding. And then I sometimes I'm like, okay, and this seems really important because of this. Like, okay, we actually need to pay attention right now. Like, and then sometimes
Watch
it'll
this.
be like, okay, we can talk right now. They're just, walking. It's fine.
It's just Helm's Deep. Don't worry about it.
It's just Helm's Deep. We can talk. It's fine. We
You
can
have
go. We
time.
can go make something. I feel like
It's
when
time.
you do the full day watch the 12-hour extended edition trilogy binge, which I have done several times. The Helm's Deep, I'm like, all right, time to get up. Gonna start making my little stew for like dinner later. Like I'm gonna put the bread in the oven, you know.
Yeah, you know the moments. Like for me, and this might be not everyone's show's opinion. Anytime there's like an Arwen scene, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to the washroom. I'll come back later. I'm like,
Yeah.
Everybody has their thing where they're like, okay, I know how this
is
one
my
goes.
break.
Yeah.
I'll take a break.
Yeah. I love her. I think I like seeing her because I like just being like a woman.
Yeah.
Yes, that's also how I feel. I'm like,
Yeah, anything with
one of
orcs,
the
I'm like,
three.
yeah. look at her. Yeah.
Do you want to do this?
Yeah. Okay. So, this is a question I just had to ask because I know, like, in my various fandoms, there's once in a while these minutia, these like deep cuts that even like other fans are like, "What are you talking about?" Like with Lord of the Rings, I find in the movies, every movie has one shot of somebody being hilariously on fire. Like in the first
and then
one,
running.
Yeah, in the first one it's the ring wraith, in the second one it's an ent, and then in the third one it is Denethor. And for some reason I find that very funny. Do you have any of those like little things that you're like, oh look, it's this thing again, and other people are like, what are you talking about?
Oh man, I mean, I track like Sam and like his food situation. I track Frodo's clothes too. But yeah, Sam and his pots, I'm always interested. That boy, I'm going backpacking I'm going camping in like a couple weeks or a couple days, and I'm packing right now. And I'm just like, how did you bring 4 cast iron? There's a pot, there's a skillet, there's another skillet, there's a ladle, there's a plate. Like they're all made out of cast iron. Like they're not the super light camping stuff. Why did you bring this, Samwise Gamgee? And it's because he's a classy gentleman and he needs to make his boyfriend food. Yeah. But, yeah. So I track that. I think I track Frodo's clothes because it's just like kind of funny that he starts out in this like fancy little brown velvet waistcoat suit and then it kind of like gradually deteriorates. I just think there's always just like those fun little weird moments where it's like someone's making a really strange face here. Usually it's Orlando Bloom. Sometimes it's someone else.
It's like an intense look for no reason.
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
One of my other deep cuts is just every time Legolas says just a statement of what is going on, I lose it. I lose it every time.
It's just a human audio description.
A diversion.
I don't know this for sure, but I think they cut a lot of his lines. And so every time he gets a line, we're like, good for you, Orlando. Like, you got that one in. I used to go to and then work at a live action role playing camp, a LARP camp for teens and for like little kids. And you could always tell that there were kids who were like, I am Aragorn, I am Legolas. And they just like during the games, they would just be doing their own thing and they'd just be like walking around like a badass and like scouting. And they'd be like, I'm going to go off and scout and just like go off into the woods alone, which we allowed because I don't know why. But it was like, but just like, there's always, I feel like Orlando Bloom has that energy in these movies where he is so into his character and he is like, this is what Legolas is feeling. It's really complicated. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he did the work. You know,
Yes.
He was like writing notes of like, and then I feel mad.
There's a beautiful essay, a beautiful funny essay by Susanna Polo on Polygon a couple of weeks ago that's about how Legolas's like weird facial expressions kind of like really make sense for him as this like hick elf who is like relatively young for an elf and has never seen anyone die and like
no context.
He's just like doesn't know how to react to anything that he's experiencing.
That's really cute. Just thinking of like Legolas is kind of like, he's homeschooled, you know, he doesn't know what to do with the other kids.
And he has like a really sexy dad. Our other joke is that his dad is like so like sexy and flamboyantly gay that Legolas is like, I have to be straight just to like make my dad mad. And then it's like when he goes off on his own, that's the first time he's like, you know what? Okay, maybe I can date a dwarf and make my dad mad.
Yeah, that would for sure work.
Oh, that would really piss him off.
That would work better than being straight. Yeah.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
Oh, do you want to do this?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so as you know, and as you mentioned earlier, there is an Amazon show coming up, which is very exciting. That is going to go like outside of the world of like just the story of Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're starting to like open up these adaptations, are there things that you hope to see from that series, or if they were to make other series, like are there stories within the world of Middle Earth that you're like, please, please, please turn this into a show or a movie or whatever else?
Yeah, you know, I have like, I'm not like, not a true fan in some ways about stuff because I'm not the kind of completionist fan who needs to see everything. Lord of the Rings might be different, but a lot of times I'm like, if I enjoy one adaptation, that's really good. And I don't need to see everything. So I don't know if I'll watch the Amazon show. I might. It doesn't seem like it has a lot of stuff that interests me. I just heard that there's going to be hobbits in it. So like, maybe I'll be interested. Yeah, that's not a spoiler. That's not like that. I'm allowed to say that. Like, that was like,
I thought originally they weren't going to have hobbits in it. It was just going to be mostly centered on like men,
the world of men.
Yeah, it's like the earliest ancestors of hobbits. One of them is played by Sir Lenny Henry, and he's kind of like a funny dude. So I think that'll be cool. I'll probably watch for that. But yeah, I'm excited to see the War of the Rohirrim, which is the anime movie that's getting made. That's sort of about Helm Hammerhand, a story from like a couple hundred years before Lord of the Rings. Did you not know about this?
I didn't know about this one.
Oh my God. Okay. I feel like
fandom shame. Oh,
people just send me like these things. I get the same memes and the same news articles sent to me so much, and I love it deeply. But like, I'm always like, how does this is like in the New York Times, but it's not. So they're making an anime about this like old story that's in the appendixes. And so I really love animation. As someone in animation, I think that it adapts to Middle Earth in this beautiful way and adapts to fantasy in a beautiful way. So I'd love to just see more, especially kind of, that anime style. Like I'd love to see, my idea would just be like a Ghibli movie about hobbits. But I want to make it.
Would look so beautiful.
I know.
Oh,
I know.
Yes, because food is so quintessential to the hobbits and
anime.
Ghibli movies.
Yeah.
Oh
my goodness.
I've thought a lot about this. Yeah. So I hope that there's something. And in general, I think that the things that we know about so far are very much aimed towards an older audience, which is chill. But Lord of the Rings, like, I had it read to me when I was 6. We all have like everyone who loves it has this childhood memory of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so wanting to kind of make things that acknowledge that part of it, and that be like, The Hobbit did start as a literal bedtime story that Tolkien told his kids. And so to kind of honor that and make things that are really fun for kids to watch. And even if they don't understand everything, still like not a gratuitous Game of Thrones style thing would be really cool. So I'm hoping for that.
I don't need to see any like elf butts or boobs in these shows. Like it's just that's not what this world is to me. Like there's plenty of places for that content, but it would be lovely to see more stuff aimed at younger kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And even just kind of, I think that's why like, I think a lot of people do not understand like why Lord of the Rings is so like intrinsic. And I'm not saying that I understand all of it either, but I think there is this element of like, the friendliness to children that those stories have. And then also the way that the hobbits are that, and the way that the hobbits kind of like give you this into the story. A lot of fantasy is like, I'm going to copy Lord of the Rings, but it's all going to be about Aragorn and Arwen. And also like, they're going to have sex. And it's just like, that's well and good, but you are not making Lord of the Rings then. Like you need like a funky little guy to kind of be there and be like, damn, this is crazy. I just want to go home for breakfast.
Yeah, and be flawed and just like have these, because so many of the times in these fantasy novels, that main character is barely flawed. Mm-hmm. They're just walking through the world, everything's perfect, and now they're in love and have solved every problem.
I think Tolkien's like, to me, I read the books and there's these very deep ideas about power and ideas about, I mean, it's interesting because he like has this monarchy kind of in it, but then they're also like the scouring of the Shire feels like this incredibly like anti-police, anti-government kind of like story. Like there's all these really interesting things where, and like even like Aragorn is kind of waiting to become king until he knows that he's ready. In the movie, he's reluctant. In the book, he's more like waiting. But so I think those ideas of like, if you want power too much, you are not the person to have power. And the reason that like power is so corruptive, that's the reason that only hobbits can carry the One Ring for so long. That's all just like really interesting to me. And I think most people get caught up in the power fantasy. Not most people, but I think a lot of people who adapt it get caught up in the power fantasy of the battles and being a badass. And like, I totally get it. But I think like as a storyteller now looking at it, I'm like, I think I know why this one was the one that kind of like defined fantasy.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I never quite thought about that, but you're absolutely right. And like, God, that's neat. I was really related because, you know, I'm I've often referred to myself as very Hobbit-like. My gender I've often referred to as Dapper Hobbit.
Yes.
But I've always very much related to hobbits, and like I've always related to the fact that they're small and they just love home and food and books, and they get thrown into these things they're in no way prepared for.
But they do it because they have to.
They push forward because they have to. Yeah. And like, I think that's such a beautiful hero.
There's something about like the description of the hobbits in the beginning and concerning hobbits. And it's sort of, you see it throughout the book, but he's like, they love food and drink and good company. And they love to consume it so much because they can survive when they don't have those things too. And so it's like this delight in the world and this delight in small pleasures is directly a method to survive. It's not pretending that problems don't exist. It is building up a stock of good things and enjoying things while you have them. Because if bad times happen, you will be able to survive it. And so that's like, and you see that in the book with like all of the hobbits. And it's like, so it's so beautiful to me to be like, these are not caring about like your home and your friends and your family and like what you're eating and things like that is not like a petty thing to care about. Like it is like a part of like emotional survival in a scary world.
Oh, that's so nice.
Could talk about this forever.
I feel
Let me also
warm.
say I'm drinking out of a Frodo mug that my mom made me.
Oh my gosh.
It's a little bit eerie. She made me a Frodo one and a Sam one.
That's such a mom win.
Oh my
though.
gosh.
I mean,
It's
you're
really
really
sweet of her.
mug.
Yeah.
I am drinking out of a mug that, so I went to Hobbiton for my birthday 5 years ago. It was like life
Holy
goal.
shit.
And my friend, this was the glass that we were drinking from in the Green Dragon. And then she pocketed it for me. And I was like, I don't know, no, don't. And so I don't drink out of it because I'm so scared to hurt it.
Yeah, that is a very Bilbo Baggins thing to do. I love it.
It's a thief. Oh man, I feel like we could just be asking you questions forever, but before we keep going, I should give you a little warning. So this show is meant to be a positive space for nerds. You know, all of that positivity that comes from, you know, hobbits and just the people that love them, you know. But unfortunately around here we have a little bit of a troll problem, just like a little bit. Like
Every fandom has it. Yeah.
Right. And it's not even like a fun troll, like a cave troll. It's just some guy on the internet. Anyway, he's a total gatekeeper, and he likes to try and prove people aren't real fans. And he comes through here sometimes and tries to challenge people with trivia. And the only way to defeat him is love. Anyway, the point is that he's might come through here, but probably not. We've taken a lot of safeguards to make sure he doesn't come through.
That's so scary.
Wow. What have we got here?
God damn it, gatekeeper.
Couldn't help overhear y'all were talking about Lord of the Rings, or, you know, maybe I should say, Serisin Relwi Melhaben Sinawan. You obviously know what that means, right?
Of course.
Obviously.
I mean, you did it. You said it.
Oh,
Your pronunciation was a little off, but like, it's okay. We'll give that to you.
You know, to British pronunciation, American pronunciation.
That's true. We can't know how these languages were. They're translated from an older text into English. Tolkien had to make some. Yeah. I'm there with you, bro. I'm there with you.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah. So how's it been going? You all must know a lot about the Lord of the Rings, huh?
Yeah.
A few things.
Just
One or
vibing.
two. Just vibing. Yeah.
I think I know a good amount. Okay, that was, I couldn't, the Billy Boyd and Dom Monaham's podcast, they do a trivia section, and I was like screaming listening to it, because I was like, come on, this is so easy.
Producer doesn't know anything.
Some of them, like their last names, I was like, come on, man.
Kills me.
I do perfect on all the trivia as usual. It's just, you know, when you care about a fandom as much as I do, it naturally comes out. Like for example, here's an easy one, a real softball. How do the hobbits cross River Brandywine?
They get on a ferry.
Oh, what ferry?
The Brandywine Ferry.
Oh,
Huckleberry Ferry.
Huckleberry Ferry.
the Buckleberry Ferry.
We got
That
it
was
back.
good, thank
We're
you.
back. We're doing this as a
Even-
team.
They even say that. It's so cute. They're like, Huckleberry Ferry.
Follow me.
Okay.
I mean, I love the Buckleberry Ferry.
Gatekeeper, can you tell me who said that line in the film?
Yeah, it was one of the hobbits.
Which one?
Which one?
It was.
Only 4, man. You got 25% chance.
Okay.
Nice.
You got it.
Big fan. Yeah, I'm a big fan of old Mary. You know, the whole fellowship. You all, of course, know who the youngest member of the fellowship is, don't you?
Uh-huh. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
It's Peregrine. It's Peregrine Took, son of Paladin.
Okay. And how old is he?
Oh gosh, I know that he's 16 in human years if you translate it from Hobbit to human. Do you guys know? He's like,
I think it's 36 to 38.
he's under 30 because 33
under 30.
is the coming of age and he's not yet of age. I think he's like 28.
Oh.
Okay, lucky guess. Lucky guess. Okay.
You did that.
All right. Well, hobbits are so boring. They don't really do anything. That's pretty clear in the story that hobbits don't do much. Let's talk about the real important one, the wizards. I mean, how many known wizards are there in Middle Earth?
There's 7. Do you know of more?
I mean, my sources say there's only 5, but
Oh, you're right. There's 5.
well,
I'm sorry, gatekeeper.
Wait, hang on. I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure there was 7 and then 2 of them went away in the first age.
I
Something
think
like
it's
that.
Gandalf, Saruman, Radagast, and then the two blue wizards.
Yeah.
Gatekeeper, do you know their colors? I've given you those
Alatar and
ones.
Palando, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gatekeeper, you keep referring to them as wizards, which is funny. Like, do you know what their real name is from the first age?
Gandalf, Radagast,
I thought they referred to wizards as.
Paladin. Yeah, they respect them and call them Gandalf, Radagast, Alatar.
But actually, Gandalf was like, he didn't call himself that.